Before we look at the abdominal crunch, we need to take a look at setting up the entire abdominal station, which is unique to the Xtreme 2 SE. Now, first take this pulley off of this main bar right here, and we're going to move it up to this bar that's unique to this machine for the abdominal station. Now you're going to notice we left our power rods hooked up. You will probably want to take the weight completely off so that you can move this thing a little more easily, and also take a look at the cable that runs up to the lat tower. You'll need to make sure that the pulley goes in front of that cable. So push the cable back a little bit, slide this on until you hear the pop, so the pin pops in place, and turn the knob a little bit so it secures it. And then as Josh hooks up the ab harness with these little handles facing outward to each one of the snap hooks here, and there's your pulley. I want to talk to you about something that happens down here with these pulleys associated with the squat platform. And you may wonder, what do these have to do with this? Well, because the pulley system in the SE is so that there's no cable changes, it's one continuous cable. That means that the position that you put the squat pulley in is going to affect the tension in the power rod. Watch. As I move it further out, you see the rod bending? The further the rod bends, the more tension or weight there is. So, with your abdominal crunch, or quite frankly any exercise, presses, pull downs, anything, you may need to assess where you put this pulley in terms of your starting resistance. So if I put it closer to the seat, it's going to be a little easier because the rod won't be bent quite so much. That's not a bad place to start for most folks. Then, if you want actually a little bit tougher starting position for most of your exercises, you could put it further out there. For some exercises, you may need it all the way out there anyway, so to keep tension in the cable even at the starting position. So, now that we're all set up, take a look at one more thing. Josh is going to have a seat. The seat height is a big deal. So you're going to notice that we've positioned the seat so that when Josh sits down, his bottom is going to go below the back pad. And the SE has this nice red rounded place in the back pad that's going to go up towards the upper part of his lumbar area, maybe even touching right below his shoulder blades to the lower thoracic area is what that's called, but not necessarily all the way down in his low back. Now you can adjust the seat and try it different places, but right in there, right below the shoulder blades, kind of addressing down to towards the lumbar area, that's where we recommend it. Now, Josh, go ahead and lay back there. He's going to grab the handles, keeping the right hand, grabbing the right handle, left on the left. And the next thing I want you to do is take a look at what a crunch should look like. This is an abdominal exercise, which doesn't mean that you're throwing your whole body into it. You see people do sit up on the floor and they're just yanking on their neck and throwing things. And really what Josh was doing there is kind of an example of that, even though it's in a seated position. So what we're going to do is slow down and think about some very specific cues or thoughts that you can have in your head to perform this exercise and get everything out of it that you want. First of all, think about your ribs right here. The muscles attaching to your ribs and running down towards your pelvis are what we're trying to address all across here. So if you tighten and imagine these muscles are like rubber bands inside there pulling your ribs right down towards your pelvis. So it doesn't seem like much motion, but that's everything that your spine has available to it. So you tighten and crunch downward like you're smashing my fingers here, and then using the same muscles and the same control all the way up, and then tightening again on the way back down. Don't get in one of these rapid fire motions where you don't really pay attention to each repetition. Take it slow, especially in the beginning. And tighten and squeeze, and then keep that tension on the way up. Control it back up, and then retighten, re-squeeze all the way back down. Now, using resistance for your abdominals is incredibly important. A lot of people think that if they do 100 reps or 1,000 reps, and that's what they need to lose this fat around here. What you need to do is add the resistance that's going to require you to fatigue in 10 or 12 or 15 repetitions, whatever you're currently using for your legs and your arms and everything else. Because we are trying to build muscle there. Building muscle there does not make a big stomach. Building muscle there is what creates these ridges, these little muscle bellies that creates the six-pack you've always heard people talk about. That's development of muscle. Now realize also that these exercises for abdominals are not spot reducing. That term refers to the idea that people have, and if they do crunches, those muscles are going to chew the fat away that's sitting on top of that area. That is not the case. That does not happen, sorry. But this exercise is incredibly important because building that muscle and building all the muscles, having muscle in your body is what burns fat. These are your motors, these are your engines. This is what burns the fat, and the fat is burned from your bloodstream from all over. Okay? So adding this muscle is going to be helpful for your spine. It's going to create an appearance you're going to want to see. You're going to have to do your aerobics, and yes, you're going to have to eat right to see these muscles and get that layer of fat off of there. So take the time to learn to do this right. Go nice and slow and think about each and every repetition, making it really, really thoughtful and really, really challenging.